I was in my junior year of high school, navigating the usual rhythm of my school day. Fifth period was lunch, and right after, I headed to my astronomy class. The room where we had astronomy was located in one of the school's 2 basement classrooms. The school was huge, with multiple floors, but even that wasn't enough to fit all the classes, so they had to convert the basements into extra classrooms. It was a bit eerie down there when nobody else was around. The space had once been a janitorial area, but it had been remodeled to resemble a more standard hallway. However, the basement still didn't have intercoms or loudspeakers, which meant no announcements were broadcast down there. Because of that, no first period classes were held there. We all referred to this area as the chamber, and everyone secretly hoped for classes down there. It was air conditioned, and for some reason the classes seemed easier. Plus, it had its own bathroom. That day, we had a quiz in astronomy, and I usually finished early because I found the material pretty easy. Once I finished, I texted my friend, who was in the other basement classroom, and told him to meet me in the bathroom because I was bored. He agreed, so I walked out of the classroom and down the short hallway to the bathroom. Just as I was about to enter, the door opened and my friend JJ walked in. We joked around for a while until he checked his phone and said someone had texted him that the school was going on lockdown. We exchanged looks, both grinning. The teachers hadn't seen us leave the classrooms, which meant we had free reign of the school during the lockdown. We agreed to sneak upstairs and check out the hallways. Worst case scenario, we could just claim we didn't hear the announcements from the basement. When we opened the basement door to head up to the main floor, we were startled to find that all the lights had been turned off. The hallways were nearly pitch black, with only a sliver of light coming from the lobby doors. This was unusual, as the lights were typically left on during lockdowns. Something was definitely happening, and we weren't sure we should be walking around. JJ stepped further into the hallway, and I followed. He paused, then whispered, "Who's that?" I looked down the dark corridor and saw a figure approaching. At first, we weren't sure if he was a teacher, but as he got closer, we realized he wasn't dressed like any staff member. He looked like a homeless man. I whispered to JJ, "Let's go," and we quickly headed back to the basement. Whoever he was, he'd definitely seen us. We saw that both classrooms had their doors shut and lights off, so we decided to hide in the bathroom. I turned off the light as soon as we entered, and we both crawled into the farthest stall, trying to stay as quiet as possible. The silence was deafening, no ventilation. No sounds of anything except our breathing and the occasional drip from the sink. Then the bathroom door opened and light from the hallway briefly flooded the room before it shut again, leaving us in darkness. We tried to control our breathing, and the room was so quiet we could hear footsteps approaching. The footsteps stopped, and then we heard heavy breathing. Someone was standing just outside our stall. The person then tried to open the door, and I whispered urgently to JJ, "Go, go." We crawled under the stall divider, moving quickly from stall to stall until we finally made it to the other side of the bathroom. At that point, the man began banging on the stall doors. He jumped up, opened the bathroom door, and the light revealed the man standing in the corner watching us. We bolted out of the bathroom and quickly made our way to JJ's classroom. The teacher locked the door behind us, and JJ explained what happened, mentioning a gun sticking out of the man's pocket. I hadn't seen a gun, but I didn't argue. Normally, students would be laughing at a scene like this, but the kids in the room were tense, their faces full of concern. Then, there was a loud bang on the door. Everyone jumped, and a few girls screamed in fear. JJ, the teacher, and I watched as the man stood at the door, peering through the window while trying the doorknob. After a few moments, he walked away, heading down the hallway and back toward the stairs. We stayed locked in the room for what felt like forever, sitting in silence except for the teacher's occasional questions, his tone worried and shaken. Eventually, someone called the teacher, and we were told to line up and exit the building. Police were waiting for us outside. JJ and I did our best to describe the man to the officers and the dean. One of the officers patted me on the back before sending us home. In the days that followed, the school ramped up its security measures, installing cameras everywhere and increasing the security budget. The incident never made it into the news, and we never found out if the police caught the man. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that he was there with the intention of killing us, right then and there, in that bathroom stall.